Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain a Japanese supernatural horror film from 2021, titled Jukai Forest Village. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The movie begins with a man named Tsunehito, a forest ranger, driving with a young woman near a forest, and as they drive, they pass a man walking along the road. The woman suggests helping him, but Tsunehito refuses. He explains that many people come to this forest hoping never to be found again, and that man was probably one of them whose attempt didn't work. As they continue driving, Tsunehito suddenly slams on the brakes when two young girls appear, walking out of the forest. The girls try to go back into the woods, but Tsunehito stops them. The scene then shifts to a young YouTuber named Akina, who has entered Aokigahara Forest while live streaming, a place known for people who go there to take their own lives. Akina is there to prove the legend wrong, the one that says no one who enters the forest can ever leave, and to stay safe, she brings a safety line, a compass, and a GPS to help her find her way out. As she ventures deeper into the forest, Akina uses the safety line to mark her path, and suddenly, she notices a man in the distance. Thinking he might be there to harm himself, she quickly follows him to try and help, but when she reaches him, the man suddenly disappears, revealing he was actually a ghost. Akina starts seeing strange things in the forest, her GPS and compass stop working properly, and fear begins to take over. Frightened, she follows her safety line to try and escape, but it leads her to the spot where the man she saw earlier took his own life. Suddenly, Akina is attacked and her phone screen went blank. The story then shifts to Hibiki, a quiet and reclusive young woman who spends most of her time online, and her older sister, Mei. The two sisters live with their grandmother, Yuko, after losing their mother when they were very young. One day, Mei reminds Hibiki that they promised to help their newlywed friends, Miyu and Akira, move into their new home. While they're helping out, Hibiki finds a hidden entrance under the veranda, and curious, Akira goes inside and discovers a wooden box. Miyu and Akira want to open it, but Hibiki nervously insists they leave it alone, and their friend Shinjiro later looks it up online and finds out the box is rumored to be cursed. Deciding not to risk it, the group agrees to take it to a nearby temple, and just then, the realtor, Mr. Oyake, shows up to deliver the house documents to Akira. He notices the box and assumes it was left behind by the previous owner. As Mr. Oyake carries the box to his car, he is suddenly hit by a truck right in front of everyone, leaving the group shocked and terrified. That night, during a group video chat, Hibiki finds out that her friends are planning to visit Jukai Village, a mysterious place deep inside the Jukai Forest. As they chat, a strange sound of a baby crying echoes through the call, and Hibiki's computer screen begins to glitch, showing disturbing images of people who died in the forest. The next day, Akira, Miyu, Hibiki, Mei, and Shinjiro bring the cursed box to a temple, where they meet a Buddhist priest, who also happens to be Shinjiro's father. He advises them to stay overnight at the temple to cleanse themselves from the curse tied to the box. That night, while wandering through the temple, Hibiki witnesses the priest performing a ritual to exorcise the evil spirits inside the box. As she quietly steps back, she suddenly sees the spirits of dead people walking around the temple. Terrified, she panics, until she wakes up and realizes it was just an hallucination. The following day, Hibiki joins her online friends, Hirugo, Dokasere, Pairu, Takuya, and Terupiato, to explore the Jukai village in the forest, just as they had planned. As they make their way through the woods, Hibiki snaps a tree branch, and unnoticed by the group, the tree subtly shifts as if it's alive. Later, when Pairu starts teasing Hibiki, she shoves him, but he trips and gets his leg caught in a tangle of tree roots. When Hibiki reaches down to help him, the roots suddenly move and grab her hand. Horrified, Hibiki manages to break free and runs out of the forest, leaving her friends behind, all of them stunned and confused by what just happened. That night, Hibiki wakes up to find the cursed box in her room, and as she watches, the box begins to shake on its own. Suddenly, it opens by itself, and inside, she sees mutilated fingers, but just as panic sets in, Hibiki wakes up. It was only a nightmare. Not long after, a mysterious fire breaks out at the temple, and the blaze kills the Buddhist priest, and Shinjiro is badly injured and taken to the hospital. Akira, Miyu, Mei, and Hibiki visit Shinjiro at the hospital, and moment later, two detectives arrive with security footage showing how the fire started. To everyone's shock, the video reveals that Hibiki started the fire herself while trying to burn the cursed box, and after the incident, Akira and Miyu cut ties with Mei and Hibiki, blaming them for what happened. Hibiki is later diagnosed with schizophrenia, and Dr. Yuji informs Mei and their grandmother, Yuko, that Hibiki will need to stay in the hospital under medical observation. When Yuji asks if Hibiki has shown unusual behavior before, Yuko admits that Hibiki has experienced strange episodes since childhood. At home, Yuko tearfully tells Mei that their mother Kotone also suffered from schizophrenia, just like Hibiki. That night, Hibiki struggles to sleep and has a terrifying nightmare of being back in the forest. The next morning, Mei finds their grandmother dead, and to her horror, she realizes Yuko is missing one of her fingers. Meanwhile, at their house, Miyu hears the sound of a baby crying, and suddenly, she finds the cursed box in her hands, but it turns out to be just a hallucination. However, the crying doesn't stop. Trying to find the source, Miyu follows the sound and realizes it's coming from beneath the veranda, the same spot where they first discovered the box. At the same time, Mei, who is still grieving the loss of her grandmother, breaks down crying, and eventually, she collapses from exhaustion and has a strange dream. In the dream, she sees herself and Hibiki as little girls and discovers that the cursed box once existed in the home where they grew up, suggesting it's somehow connected to their past and the events happening now. When Mei wakes up, she immediately tells Akira and Shinjiro that she has a bad feeling that something has happened to Miyu. They check her location and find that she's missing. Tracking her phone signal, they drive out to the forest late at night. But when they arrive, all they find is Miyu's empty car parked near the forest's entrance, and moment later, they meet Tsunehito, the forest ranger, and his assistant. Tsunehito warns them not to go into the forest, saying it's dangerous, but despite the warning, Akira insists on searching for Miyu but ends up injuring his leg shortly after entering. Tsunehito then explains to them that this forest belongs to the forest gods, and long ago, people with disabilities or illnesses were brought here as sacrifices to please these gods. The practice has ended, but now the forest has become a place where people come to take their own lives. After sharing this dark history, Tsunehito and his assistant leaves the teenagers behind and drive off into the night. The next day, Mei visits Hibiki in the hospital to ask why she tried to burn the cursed box, and visibly distressed, Hibiki reveals that the box once wiped out an entire family line. Suddenly, she begins to panic after seeing ghostly figures, and frightened, Hibiki starts screaming, warning that everyone is going to die before nurses rush in to take her away. Still desperate for answers, Mei, Akira, and Shinjiro meet with Dr. Yuji to learn more about Hibiki's condition, but the doctor avoids giving them any clear explanation. As they leave the hospital, Akira notices something strange, a severed finger lying on the ground, and suddenly, a terrifying event unfolds. Akira and Dr. Yuji both die under mysterious circumstances. Back at home, Shinjiro comforts Mei, who is grieving over the death of Akira, and eventually she slept off. The next morning, she wakes to something horrifying. She finds Shinjiro in the kitchen cutting off his own finger, as if controlled by some unseen force. Before Mei can call for help, Shinjiro grabs a knife and slits his own throat. Meanwhile, Tsunehito leads a search party into the forest to look for Miyu. When they finally find her, the group is horrified to see Miyu's lifeless body stuck in a tree. Afterward, Mei meets with Tsunehito, desperate for answers about the cursed box, and Tsunehito opens up about what he knows about the box. Long ago, people who were abandoned and left to die in Jukai built a hidden village deep in the forest. It was there that the cursed box was created, as part of the curse of Jukai, a tool of revenge born from the suffering of those sacrificed to the forest gods. The box exists as a form of retribution, punishing anyone who disturbs its rest or crosses paths with its curse. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Hibiki is attacked by shadowy tree branches that creep into her room, wrapping around her. Back at home, Mei makes a disturbing discovery. Hidden within the house, she finds an old drawing carved into the floor. The image shows the cursed trees of the forest and the lost Jukai village. As Mei takes photos of the carving, she suddenly experiences terrifying visions of how the cursed box was created, by the hands of those who were abandoned and sacrificed to the forest god. Just as the vision fades, the cursed box mysteriously appears in her room. The next day, Mei, who is determined to end the curse, takes the box into the forest. After searching deep within Aokigahara, she finds the remains of the Jukai village and leaves the box there, hoping it will finally be at peace. As Mei makes her way back through the forest, she encounters Akina, the YouTuber who had disappeared earlier while live streaming. To Mei's shock, they are soon joined by Pairu, Takuya, Hirugo, Dokasere, and Terupiato, all of whom had gone missing. Akina spots the safety line she had used during her first trip into the forest, and the group follows it, hoping it will lead them out. But just as hope seems within reach, Mei realizes the horrifying truth: the others are not alive, they are all ghosts, having died long ago, and their bodies are now rotting in the forest. Overwhelmed, Mei collapses, and when she regains consciousness, she finds herself tied to an altar, surrounded by the spirits of Miyu and Akira. Miyu grabs a scissors, preparing to cut off one of Mei's fingers to make her part of the cursed souls bound to the forest. However, the ghost of Mei and Hibiki's mother, Koton, appears and takes the scissors from Miyu, insisting that she will be the one to sever Mei's finger, but instead of harming Mei, Koton cuts off her own finger as a sacrifice. As Akira triumphantly presents the severed finger to the ghostly villagers, Koton uses the distraction to quietly untie Mei and they flee. The two run through the forest, but their escape is short-lived as the ground collapses beneath them, dropping them into a hidden underground cave. At the same moment, Hibiki, who is still confined to her hospital bed, suddenly levitates into the air as unseen forces slam her violently against the walls. Back in the cave, Mei is overwhelmed by a flashback, a forgotten memory from childhood. She recalls herself and young Hibiki, desperately fleeing through the forest with their mother, years ago. Koton is trapped by tree roots and pulled into the same underground cave where the adult Mei is, and she witnesses everything that really happened the night they lost their mother. With no way to climb out of the cave, Koton tells Mei to take Hibiki and escape the forest, revealing that they were the same two little girls Tsunehito saw leaving the forest at the beginning of the movie. In that moment, Mei realizes the truth: her mother never took her own life like everyone believed. Overcome with emotion, Mei breaks down crying as she hugs her mother's decayed body. Suddenly, as the ghosts of Akira and Miyu appear, they toss the cursed box toward Mei, and the severed fingers spill out, transforming into the vengeful spirits of the forgotten villagers. The ghostly figures begin chasing Mei through the cave, but just as all hope seems lost, Hibiki, despite still being physically in the hospital, managed to appear in the forest through an astral projection or spiritual form. Even as her real body continues battling the torment of the shadowy tree branches, her spirit arrives just in time to protect Mei from the spectral villagers. Mei suddenly realizes that it was Hibiki who saved her in the beginning, not their mother. By cutting her finger, Hibiki has now become part of the cursed villagers and the forest itself. She gently tells Mei that she will always be with her. Then, Hibiki begins to transform into a tree, and the ghostly villagers chasing them merge with her as well, turning into trees. Mei watches in tears as they all combine to form one large towering tree, and at the same time in the hospital, Hibiki takes her final breath and dies. Mei manages to escape the forest safely, and in the final scene, as Mei stands sadly by the roadside, Tsunehito drives by and notices her, and the movie concludes. Okay guys, that's all the recap about Suicide Forest Village from 2021. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.